Hello, my name is Jim Belson. I'm a retired judge. I was a judge with the DC courts for just under 50 years, a few months under 50 years. First with the Court of General Sessions, which became the Superior Court, and then for many years with the DC Court of Appeals. I took senior status a few years back, and then about 3 years ago, I retired after 49.5 years or so as a judge in the district. That's what I did. Before that, I was a partner with a law firm here in town, then known as Hogan and Hartson, later became known as Hogan Lovells. And that was what I did before I was a judge.
When did you get involved with CCE?
Actually, I got involved with the Council for Court Excellence before it existed, in that I was working on the rules of the courts here in DC, and at the same time, Sam Harahan and Charlie Horsky were working on court rules, and so I was aware of all the things that were being done, and so were they, and we spoke a good bit about them. And then when the council was initiated, and before, we spoke about what needed to be done in connection with court organization in the district. And to me, it was very educational and very helpful to be able to work with them.
What do you think what led to the creation of the Council for Court Excellence?
Well, before about 1971 or 2, the courts of the District of Columbia were courts of limited jurisdiction, and Congress decided to pass, after much prompting, a court reorganization act, which made the courts gradually, courts of the district gradually courts of general jurisdiction, and that was gradual. With respect to civil cases, it had previously been, I think, a $20,000 limit in civil damages. That went up to 50, and then up to no limit. And on the criminal side, it tried only misdemeanors as the local court, and then Congress changed that so that it gradually tried felonies in addition to misdemeanors. That's how that went. Before the court reorganization, the Court of General Sessions, the local trial court, had no equity jurisdiction, except when that was totally incidental to a civil award. It had other areas where it had no jurisdiction and no probate, and some others, simply civil cases, civil damages cases. And after reorganization, it rarely got all civil jurisdiction other than purely federal cases.
What do you think were the most sort of important impacts of CCE?
Of what?
Of CCE.
Of the Council for Excellence? Well, the work of Charlie Horsky and Sam Harahan was extremely important. They were experienced, and Charlie Horsky was one of the great men of the local bar, and his suggestions carried a lot of weight, and he had good suggestions. Sam was very active in putting together what needed to be done to, in fact, gradually convert the local trial court of limited jurisdiction into a trial court of general jurisdiction, which included everything, civil and criminal, except purely federal cases, and purely federal civil cases as well as criminal. And so that's what they did. They worked hard. They put together a very good organization of lawyers, judges, and others to work on the various phases of court jurisdiction, and that worked out very well. And they were highly esteemed for their work.
What was your involvement? Were there any particular projects you worked on?
Yes, I was at that time. I was a judge in the Superior Court, and I was the chairman of the Civil Rules Committee, which was comprised of about, I think 6 or so judges and a number of practitioners, and also chairman of the Overall Rules Committee, which reviewed the work of the advisory committees on civil rules. That's what I mentioned before, was the advisory committee on civil rules, but also criminal, family, probate, and all that. So I was both of those, chairman of both of those committees, the advisory committee on civil rules and the court rules committee. And therefore my involvement included reviewing the work of the other advisory committees and then presenting any rules which were proposed to be amended or changed to the Board of Judges and explaining to the Board of Judges the basis for adopting the new rules. So that got me involved in a lot of things, and that included what Charlie Horsky and Sam were doing. And that's why I was in conversations with them and working with them on those things.
How would you describe the continued relevance or significance of CCE today?
Well, the law has continued to evolve, and new things have arisen. Changes have been made in the federal rules, which have to be viewed by the court rules committees and therefore by the Council of Court Excellence. And it goes beyond rules, of course. Various kinds of law reform have to be considered. And I know I'm not referring to any in a specific way, but things are always happening with respect to juveniles and their treatment in the court system, places of confinement, budgets, all manner of things have to be considered and are.
What are you most proud of related to your project, related to your involvement with CCE?
The way what?
What is you most proud of related to your involvement with the organization, with CCE?
Well, basically, I think it had to do with court rules. That's the thing I was most active in, and making sure that the council was aware of, and they made themselves aware of whatever was being done with respect to rules. My field was especially civil, and then see to it that we had court rules that did what was needed for a court of our kind, and it was a big city trial court,
Mm-hmm.
which needed good rules, and a lot of other things came up as well. So I guess you had to, in particular, proud of those things, but they're very interesting things that I was glad to work on.